Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. Today, we're going to be discussing wizarding prisons. A few months back, I broke down all of the known schools in the international wizarding community, and today, similar to that, I'm going to be pivoting to international prisons. Everyone knows Azkaban, but do you know the other 7? Let's dive into it. Number 1. Nurngard. Known by some as the home base for Grindelwald's operations during his tyrannical regime spanning the early 1900s, and known by others as the castle that ended up keeping Grindelwald as its prisoner, Nurngard is, after Azkaban, probably the most famous wizarding prison in Harry Potter. Located in the Austrian Alps, Grindelwald built Nurngard to 1. Act as his base of operations for him and his followers, and 2. Hold his enemies and prisoners of war. Sitting on the edge of a mountain, the stone fortress had massive, tall walls and boasted an impressive tower with a cone-shaped top, presumably serving as a kind of watchtower. The grounds of Nurngard were nothing to scoff at either, featuring a gated courtyard from which you could sit and look at the beautiful scenery all around. That is, if you weren't distracted by the prison bars on either side of the courtyard that were used to keep the less powerful prisoners captive. Inside is where the prisoners that he felt were a real threat were kept. Inside of the prison was just as spectacular as the mountains around it, at least while Grindelwald was still in power. It was outfitted with tall windows, velvet carpets and long corridors, the perfect prison for a bougie villain like Grindelwald. And if at first it wasn't completely obvious that this was Grindelwald's fortress, the massive "For the Greater Good" slogan carved over the prison's entrance would be a good reminder. Ironically, Grindelwald ended up being imprisoned in Nurngard himself, the primary reason being that Grindelwald had ties to Austria. That, and the fact that the wizarding authorities thought it would be entertaining to imprison him inside the walls that he built. If Nurngard didn't exist, then I'm almost certain that he would have ended up in Azkaban. Years later, it was reported that Nurngard had deteriorated significantly. It no longer had the upkeep of Grindelwald's acolytes, and it simply served as a prison, which it grew to look like more and more as the years passed. Eventually, Nurngard was nothing more than a giant towering building made of black rock that can only be described as grim and ominous. 2. Azkaban. Azkaban was built in the 15th century and began being used as a detention facility in the year 1718, housing some of the most sinister witches and wizards to have ever disgraced the wizarding world. The name Azkaban is a mixture of the word Alcatraz, which refers to a famous Muggle island prison, and Abaddon, which is a Hebrew word that means place of destruction. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? At one point in time, before the fortress was built, Azkaban was just an island, but when its first inhabitant, Echrisdis, found the island, he decided to transform it into his own little dark arts experiment. Echrisdis was a dark wizard that practiced the worst forms of dark magic, and he was known to lure sailors to the island, then torture them. Before he got there, he was crazy, but after spending a considerable amount of time there, he went completely bonkers. While Echrisdis lived there, he placed concealment charms on the island so that no one would be able to find it, and after he died, these concealment charms were finally lifted. This is when the British Ministry of Magic first discovered the island. The investigative team from the ministry who first went to Azkaban refused to discuss their findings, other than the fact that the island was infested with Dementors. Over the course of its history, Azkaban has been the home to many witches and wizards, including Percival Dumbledore, Bartemius Crouch Jr., various Lestrangers, and various Gaunts, just to name a few. Though it was under much scrutiny initially, when the ministry recognized that they could utilize the island to imprison evildoers, they capitalized on this, and began sentencing people to Azkaban. The Ministry of Magic felt that the smaller, existing wizarding prisons that were scattered across the country posed a considerable security risk and put citizens in danger. Azkaban serves as the ultimate prison due to its remote location and the sea of Dementors that make sure the prisoners are in check. Escaping from Azkaban before your sentence is over is punishable by a fate worse than death, a Dementor's kiss. The island itself is located in the North Sea, but the island is said to have never appeared on any map, Muggle or magical. It's suspected that the island was either created or enlarged via magical means. I'm thinking that Akrisdis was probably responsible for that. The North Sea is a marginal sea of the Atlantic Ocean located between Great Britain, Denmark, Norway, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France. If you're going to get locked up, try your absolute best to avoid Azkaban. 3. Erkstag. First witnessed by fans in the new Secrets of Dumbledore film, the Erkstag was a wizarding prison located in Berlin, Germany that was used by the German Ministry of Magic. The Erkstag could be accessed via an underground tunnel system, and many believe that the prison had been publicly abandoned. However, as it turns out, and as we witnessed in the Secrets of Dumbledore, the German ministry was still secretly holding people at the facility by 1932. At the entrance to the prison, there was a prison guard, a warder, who would confiscate each prisoner's personal belongings upon their arrival. The prison itself, which had a circular shape and spiraled downwards, was dark, scary, and certainly not the sort of place you'd want to end up, particularly as your chances of getting out, at least from the way the film portrayed it, were likely quite slim. From what appeared to be near the bottom of the endless spiraling prison structure was a giant manticore that would devour prisoners as soon as their lanterns went out. Dumbledore once referred to Erkstag as the German ministry's bed and breakfast. 4. Makusa Prison. Makusa, aka the Magical Congress of the United States of America, was essentially the American Ministry of Magic, and just like the German Ministry of Magic, Makusa too had their own prison directly linked with their organization. The Makusa headquarters was located in the Woolworth Building in downtown New York City, and the prison cells were located in the basement. It's entirely unclear how long these prison cells have existed, but provided that Makusa was founded in 1693, I'd wager it's been a long time. Yes, the Woolworth Building was completed in 1913, but provided that the prison cells were located in the basement of the building, it's entirely possible that they were there before the building had even been built, hiding underground. Reportedly, the main cell room held hundreds of cage-like cells stacked on top of each other, sort of like what you'd expect to see at a dog pound. And in the middle of the main room, there was a large staircase with iron bars on both sides that led up to the rooftop of the Woolworth Building. Though the building was clean and relatively well kept, it certainly didn't mean that prisoners there had a good experience. In fact, prisoners were kept in strangely dark rooms devoid of windows, accessible only through one ominous-looking iron door with a tiny sliding window, big enough only to fit your eyes. 5. Dark Tower, Hogwarts. A prison at Hogwarts? Yes, you heard me right. Just near the Transfiguration Courtyard at Hogwarts, you may recall a tall, narrow tower. This dark-looking tower, aptly named the Dark Tower, was in fact used as a prison at Hogwarts. However, provided that this prison was at a school for children, and given that there were only a few cells, I'd probably call it more of a holding facility. The tower itself was 7 stories tall, and sported 4 gargoyles on each corner of the tower, directing water away from it when it rained. It has also been reported that the prison cells were not outfitted with any kind of incantations, making it a lot less secure than other wizarding prisons we know. While in the present day there may not be much need for a prison cell at Hogwarts, we do have to remember that back in the day, before Azkaban, prisons were scattered all across the country. Having a holding cell, or at least something at Hogwarts, a massive hub for witches and wizards, probably made a lot of sense. In the film version of The Prisoner of Azkaban, Sirius Black is held prisoner in this tower. However, in the books, he's kept in Phileas Flitwick's office over in the West Tower. 6. New York Witches Penitentiary. The New York Witches Penitentiary, first mentioned on a poster in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, was a women's-only wizarding prison located in the state of New York. Past prisoners include Madame Miraforum, Eleanor Shanks, and Matildas Heisenberg. All of these women were highly dangerous criminals at large, with crimes ranging from no-match murder to atrocities against the wizarding community. I feel like Bellatrix would have fit right in here. And that pretty much concludes the list of the main prisons. The only other two wizarding prisons, if you could call them that I know of, are the abandoned substation, which was used as a holding facility for snatchers to hold muggleborns, and the abandoned nuclear power plant, which was used to imprison enemies of the Death Eater-controlled Ministry of Magic. These facilities appeared in the Harry Potter games and can be seen in the background of some of the Harry Potter film promotional posters. And that's it for this video. Did I miss any? Had you heard of all of these prisons? Leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.